if they continue hitting targets, then the Islamic Republic will be sort of battered into submission. But I think the point of submission might just be a little bit further off than the Israelis and the Americans think, given how Iran has responded so far.
Charlie Gammell is the former diplomat on the Iran desk at the Foreign Office and join us now. Charlie, good afternoon. Thanks for joining us.
Good afternoon, Alex.
Charlie, before we get into the intricacies of what happens next with the Iranian regime, when it comes to the Foreign Office dealing with the rather large number of British nationals that are now stuck all over the United Arab Emirates, our first guest was saying that thousands of people are actually stuck not just in Dubai, but actually in Dubai airport because their flights have been cancelled. What happens in the Foreign Office? What kicks in? How do they deal with it?
Well, I think, first of all, it'll be a triaging of information. What are the threats coming in? What do we understand about the rapidly evolving situation? Diplomats in country will start liaising with local security services to try and get a better understanding of how they might position themselves. But ultimately, it's all going to be a very fast-moving situation that's geared towards protecting British nationals abroad and understanding how this might escalate. And I think from everything that we've seen about Iran's response, they don't plan on stopping these attacks using their Shahed drones at shipping at sort of transport infrastructure in the Gulf, because they know that this is going to hurt America and Britain's allies. The goal of the Iranians here is to try and get these Gulf states to put pressure on America to stop the bombing in Iran. But it looks like that'll have the opposite effect, and it will unite Gulf powers against Iran.
So at the moment, the British nationals that are stuck in places like Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Qatar, will there be any contact from the Foreign Office? Will there even be an attempt to repatriate these British nationals by setting up special flights? Or if there's a no-fly zone, well, they're going to have to just stay there.
So I imagine at the moment, I mean, this is pretty unprecedented situation, but at the moment, given how precarious air flight would be at the moment, I would imagine people would be advised to shelter somewhere and stay put. No special flights would be put on when we're just not sure how Iran's going to respond and what might get hit in the crossfires.
Okay. Looking at the headlines at the moment, Iran, as you mentioned, are pretty determined. I think the Iranian president has been quoted as saying that revenge is a legitimate duty of the Iranian regime. With your knowledge of the area, Charlie, how does this proposed regime change from the American president come to pass? We spoke to a British Iranian national who said, look, there is already the crown prince of the Shah, Pahlavi, is already sort of in the wings waiting. How does this process come about?
So I think if we look at January, what happened in January, the Islamic Republic is a brutal regime that has no compunction in killing tens of thousands of its own people. But it's also a regime that is in control. And I think that's the worry, is that you look at these aerial strikes and they can have massive dramatic effect and massive operational impact on the Islamic Republic. But will it drive the regime apart, or will it drive it closer together? My worry is that if we look at the way Iran's responded, we have this very clear sense that the gloves are off. If you look at the way Iran responded to attacks since the October the 7th crisis and the Hamas conflict between Israel, which expanded into the region, Iran's response was always calibrated. It was very much a sense of, we will hit you back, but we don't want further fighting. The way Iran's attack now suggests that the gloves are off. There's no calibration here. And what I read from that is that the Islamic Republic is in no mood to splinter and is in no mood to tolerate any protests from the people of Iran. And that's where there's a degree of recklessness to Trump's calls for Iranians to come out on the streets, because what would they be walking into and how can they overthrow their government? When it comes to Reza Pahlavi, he does command support in Iran, but more because he's just not the Islamic Republic. Some of the comments that his team have made in the last couple of weeks about Kurdish separatists in Iran, Baluch separatists in Iran, have not gone down well and don't present him as a unifying figure for the people of Iran. So I think that Reza Pahlavi has a lot of support. but we should be careful not to overplay the degree to which he can unite Iran. And also, we should be careful not to overplay the degree to which he can actually influence things inside the country. You know, what the people of Iran need if there were to be a revolution, well, they need guns, they need support, they need logistics. And it feels unlikely that that's going to come now, short of some kind of ground invasion by US or Israeli troops, which again feels like that is a long way off. So definitely the Islamic Republic is weak. Definitely the Islamic Republic is battered. But whether it will relinquish control easily, I just don't see that happening in the short term.
How much longer do you think they can withstand bombing from Israel and the US?
So this is a really interesting point. You know, when in the 12-day war, Iran portrayed this as a victory. And we all thought that was laughable. But actually, there's so much in the Persian and the Shia psyche which sees survival as victory, which sees martyrdom as kind of vindication. So Iran can, as long as it survives, as long as the Islamic Republic survives, and as long as there's no great ground invasion, it can withstand something like this. Maybe not indefinitely, obviously not, but at least for the next however long. And there is a degree of unity amongst the IRGC. So I think that's just to say that the challenge of toppling the Islamic Republic, it's a big one. And I suppose I worry that Trump is sort of using, you know, war as politics by a different means to try and force the Iranians into a concession and to get some kind of US-friendly inside Islamic Republic person on the throne, as it were, who can do a deal with America. And that would be an absolute disservice and betrayal of the Iranian people who've lost so much in the last 2 months trying to rise up and overthrow this regime. So some really difficult choices ahead.
But do you think if the Israelis and the Americans continue to pick off, I mean, they quite clearly have incredibly accurate intelligence as they were able to take out the supreme leader in their first strike. Now, if they have such accurate intelligence, if they are able to continue to pick off with strategic bombing the leaders of the IRGC and the people in charge, or the people who are setting themselves to be up next in line, if that continues, do you think that can bring about? I mean, you made a really good point that the people in the streets, what are they going to go up against if they have no arms in their hands? Sheer numbers might not be able to do it, but do you think that as a strategy that has any hope of succeeding?
No, I mean, absolutely. If they carry on battering, you know, they hit Thurala headquarters, which is an IRGC headquarters in Tehran, and they definitely have a long list of targets that they can hit. I suppose human intelligence will degrade over time, and some of these sources that they're using could probably get killed, which denies them a little bit of access and understanding. So it's definitely going to sort of batter the Iranians into submission. But it's just what is that toppling point at which people say, right, it's safe for us to march in the streets. And also at the moment, if there's an aerial bombing campaign going on across Iran, hitting targets all over the place, you know, no one in their right mind is going to step out their front door with a Reza Pahlavi flag. So a sense of timing has to be taken into account here. But no, I absolutely take your point that if they continue hitting targets, then the Islamic Republic will be sort of battered into submission. But I think the point of submission might just be a little bit further off than the Israelis and the Americans think, given how Iran has responded so far.